My name is Tessa. I'm 31. 2 years ago, the night before my wedding, my father ended our relationship with a 6-word text. No call, no explanation, just silence after it. I remember staring at my phone, reading it again and again, like somehow the meaning would change, like maybe I had misunderstood. But I hadn't. That was it. That was how it ended. By morning, it had already spread through the family. My mother knew. My brother knew. My aunts knew. And somehow, without hearing a single word from me, they had already chosen a side. Not one of them called to ask what happened. Not one of them asked why. They didn't need my version. They had already decided. And the reason? 4 seats. Just 4 extra people at a wedding that was already full. It sounds small, almost ridiculous, like something that shouldn't be able to break a family. But it was never about 4 seats. It was about years of saying yes when I wanted to say no. Years of adjusting, bending, reshaping my life to fit expectations that were never really mine. After my parents divorced, everything changed. My father remarried, and with that came a new life I was expected to step into without hesitation. New routines, new traditions, new people I was supposed to accept as if they had always been there. And I tried. I really did. I showed up to every event, even when I was exhausted. I helped whenever I was asked, even when it disrupted my own plans. I smiled through conversations that felt forced, through moments where I felt like an outsider in a place I was supposed to belong. I kept telling myself the same thing again and again. This is what family means. You adjust, you sacrifice, you don't make things difficult. And for a long time, I believed that. But slowly, something started to shift. Not loudly, not all at once, but quietly, in ways that were easy to ignore at first. The way a simple no would change the mood in a room. The way missing one event would turn into a long conversation about disappointment. The way choosing my own life, even in small ways, was labeled as selfish or disrespectful. I started to notice a pattern. Love felt conditional, support felt transactional, and my role in all of it became clear. I was the one who made things easy, the one who kept the peace by never pushing back, the one who held everything together by never asking for anything in return. And the longer I played that role, the more everyone expected me to. Until it wasn't appreciated anymore, it was assumed. By the time my fiancé and I started planning our wedding, I was already carrying a quiet exhaustion I didn't fully understand yet. We kept the wedding small, not because we didn't want more people there, but because we couldn't afford it. Every seat mattered. Every name had a place. We planned everything carefully, balancing what we wanted with what we could realistically manage. So when my father told me to add 4 more guests, I didn't react emotionally. I explained it calmly. There wasn't space. There wasn't budget. It simply wasn't possible. But he didn't hear limits. He heard rejection. To him, it wasn't about logistics. It was about loyalty. And in his mind, I had just chosen not to be loyal. He gave me a choice. Do it his way, or he wouldn't come. It was that simple. No discussion, no understanding, just a line drawn in front of me. And for the first time in my life, I didn't rush to fix it. I didn't immediately say yes. I didn't try to make it work at my own expense. I just stood there, in that moment, feeling the weight of every past compromise, every time I had chosen peace over myself. And I said no. Not loudly, not dramatically, just no. That night passed in a strange silence. No follow-up call, no attempt to talk it through, just distance. And then the next morning, that message arrived. 6 words that erased years in seconds. 6 words that didn't ask, didn't explain, didn't leave space for anything else. And just like that, he was gone. Not long after, the rest of them followed. Not physically, not all at once, but in the way that mattered. The calls stopped, the messages faded, the connection disappeared. It was like watching something collapse quietly, without noise, without a scene, just gone. But the wedding still happened. Everything moved forward, exactly as planned, except for one thing. There were empty chairs where my family should have been, chairs that stayed untouched the entire night, like silent reminders of what had been lost. People noticed, of course, but no one said much, and I didn't explain. I didn't want to. When the moment came, I walked down the aisle anyway, step by step, steady, even though something inside me felt different. Not broken, not shattered, just changed, like something had quietly shifted into place. I said my vows, I smiled, I held on to the moment in front of me instead of the absence behind me, and somewhere in between all of that, without realizing it fully, I made a decision. I stopped looking back. After the wedding, I expected something to happen. Not something big, not a dramatic apology or a sudden realization, but at least something. A message, a call, some sign that the silence wasn't permanent. But nothing came. Days passed, then weeks, then months. At first, I kept checking my phone more than I want to admit. Every notification made my heart shift slightly, like maybe this time it would be him. Maybe this time someone would reach out and say this had gone too far. But it never happened. Slowly, without making a conscious decision, I stopped checking. Life didn't fall apart the way I thought it might. There was no dramatic breakdown, no moment where everything became too much to carry. Instead, something unexpected happened. Things became quiet. Not empty, not lonely in the way people imagine, just quiet. For the first time in years, there was no pressure waiting for me at the end of the day, no expectation to show up somewhere I didn't want to be, no subtle guilt hanging in conversations, no feeling that I had to constantly prove something just to keep the peace. It felt unfamiliar at first, almost uncomfortable, like I had been so used to noise that silence didn't feel natural anymore. But slowly, that changed. I started noticing small things, the way my home felt calmer, the way my decisions didn't come with a second layer of doubt, the way I could say yes or no without immediately thinking about how it would affect everyone else. My husband noticed it too, even before I said anything. He never pushed, never asked me to explain what I was feeling. He just gave me space, steady and patient in a way I hadn't experienced before. And that steadiness became something I started to rely on without even realizing it. We built a routine together, simple but real. Evenings that weren't interrupted, weekends that didn't revolve around obligations, conversations that didn't feel like they were being measured or judged. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't a complete transformation overnight. It was gradual, quiet shifts that added up over time. And somewhere in the middle of that new rhythm, something else happened. I stopped replaying everything in my head. For a while, I had gone over it again and again. The conversation with my father, the message, the way everything unfolded so quickly. I kept trying to find the exact moment where it could have gone differently, the point where maybe I could have said something else, done something differently, avoided the outcome entirely. But I ran out of ways to rewrite it. And in that stillness, I started to see it more clearly. It hadn't been about that one moment. It hadn't been about the wedding, or the seats, or even the argument itself. It had been building for years, quietly, consistently, shaping everything that came after. That realization didn't come with anger. It came with something much simpler: acceptance. Not the kind that excuses everything, not the kind that pretends it didn't matter, but the kind that stops fighting what has already happened. And with that acceptance came something else I didn't expect: relief. Not because I lost my family, but because I was no longer trying to hold something together that had been pulling apart for a long time. As time passed, life continued to grow around that space. My husband and I created something stable, something that didn't rely on constant adjustment or silent compromise. It felt different from anything I had known before, not because it was perfect, but because it was honest. And then eventually, we had a daughter. That changed things in a way I can't fully explain, not in a dramatic, overwhelming sense, but in a quiet, grounding way. Holding her, I started to understand something I hadn't before. The kind of love that doesn't keep score. The kind of presence that doesn't disappear when it's inconvenient. And in those moments, I realized something else. I didn't miss the chaos. I didn't miss the constant need to prove myself, the pressure to always get it right, the feeling that one wrong move could shift everything. I didn't miss the version of me that existed just to keep others comfortable. 2 years passed like that, steady, quiet, real, until one day, without warning, my phone rang, and everything that had been still for so long moved again. When my phone rang, I didn't need to see the name to know it was him. 2 years of silence doesn't just break without a reason. I let it ring once, twice, then I answered. His voice was softer than I remembered, careful, controlled, like he was stepping onto thin ice.